When I look out at the stars at night, I can see the Big Dipper and Orion's belt. They flow seamlessly from one end of the sky to another and fill me with a feeling. A feeling so incomprehensible, so astounding that I can't quite put it into words, and yet you know what I'm talking about, right? There are some feelings, some ideas which are so powerful, so emotionally rich that they can't be adequately described with words, and yet somehow they can, with a sunset or a waterfall or a flower. I don't need to say anything, for petals are more eloquent than tongues. On a basic level, each of us, indeed our entire universe, is made up of stardust. And so, somehow, deep calls to deep in the roar of the waterfalls, and in the scent of rain on the hot ground in the dark of a summer's evening. And nature speaks its wisdom without ever saying a word. But as we continue to distance ourselves from the natural world, as we turn precious stardust into gaudy plastic, as we coat rich soil with crusts of concrete, we encounter a problem. We have become alienated from the earth. We begin to forget the words of its language, and within 10 years we will fall silent, leaving all these precious words unsaid. Of course, nature hasn't always been our common language, and there was a time once before when we lost the lyrics to nature's song. The British Industrial Revolution of the 18th century led society to fall out of touch with itself as we became beguiled by the siren call of the words of material wealth. We dug deep into the earth to fuel our furnaces and built up high into the sky to vent our smoke. But then came a revolution. A romantic insurrection reclaimed the language of nature to radicalise art, poetry and discussion, making it accessible to the common person. Romantic poets became the voice of the dispossessed, focusing again upon the incredible power and beauty of nature. And as we relearned our mother tongue, people began to talk again. We could understand each other once more. Looking at society today, however, it appears we've gone back on this progress. The fragile connection that we began to rebuild 150 years ago has withered. We have poisoned the water we drink and the air we breathe. As our towns and cities grow bigger, our wilderness grows ever smaller. Whenever a species disappears, we forget another word and lose another connection to each other. We need another revolution. We need a revolution that mirrors that of the Romantics from 2 centuries ago. We need to relearn the language of nature. It's a task that may seem daunting, but don't worry. To become fluent again takes just 3 steps. Step 1. Rediscover the words. They're not lost forever. They're simply buried deep down in our minds. Now it's time to dig them out. We need to make our earth habitable for wild things once again by increasing our green spaces and giving nature space to breathe. No action is too small. In 2018, a man named Olive Ridley in Mumbai took it upon himself to clean up the Sova beach, which had been drowned in plastic waste for 20 years. 2 months later, its population of sea turtles increased from 0 to 80. One idea, one beach, one habitat restored. Imagine if we continued that work on a global scale. Step 2. Reconnect with the words. When going back to a language, there is always that fear, that worry that it's going to be difficult. But there is no substitute for just going in and getting our hands dirty. It's time to take a leap of faith. Go outside, nurture a plant, lie down in the long grass, dig deeper. Step 3. Relay the words. If we are to relearn the language of nature, we must work together. Our selfishness has done the damage. Our cooperation is required to effect the healing. We must teach the grammar and vocabulary to businesses and corporations, as well as leaders and governments. Now, when I look out at the stars at night, I can see the Big Dipper and Orion's belt. They flow seamlessly from one end of the sky to another and fill me with a feeling. A feeling that if I had to put into one word, I would call hope. And as you sit here in this room, you can feel what I'm talking about. Yeah? I have hope that one day politicians will learn to exchange olive branches instead of insults, that we will prioritise mountains over money, that our hedgerows will be full once again with the noisy peace of insect wings, for we will have relearned the language of nature and the words we left unsaid.